We're standing right on the precipice of a monumental shift in business history, the kind of shift that literally rewrites the fundamental rules of our economy. For decades, the path to $1 billion empire was, well, it was set in stone. It was this massive, heavy, unavoidable mountain you just had to climb. But that mountain is crumbling. Okay, let's dive into this, because the one-person billion-dollar company is absolutely no longer science fiction. It's happening right now, right before our very eyes. Think about the corporate titans of the past century. Building a massive company required an absolute army. You needed thousands of employees, sprawling office headquarters, and millions, sometimes hundreds of millions in venture capital just to get the gears turning. That was the old way. But consider the new reality. One founder, armed with artificial intelligence. The colossal barriers to entry, the huge buildings, the endless begging for capital, they're being totally obliterated by the staggering new reality of the AI-powered individual. Just one. A single individual can now achieve what used to take an entire army of specialized workers. It's a fundamental rewiring of what a human being is actually capable of producing. Chapter 1. The Impossible Company. Now, what's really interesting about this is that what was widely considered absolutely impossible just a few short years ago is actively happening today. We're entering an entirely new era. These massive traditional barriers to building a billion-dollar empire are suddenly vanishing into thin air. We're completely removing the friction of managing thousands of employees, the crushing financial overhead of massive physical offices, and the desperate reliance on millions in outside funding. You just don't need permission from gatekeepers anymore. What we're witnessing here is the birth of an entirely new generation of entrepreneurs. It's a new breed of founders. They aren't managing people, they're orchestrating incredibly powerful digital systems, using AI to build and scale companies at a rate that is completely unprecedented in human history. Chapter 2. Enter the AI workforce. Which brings us to the engine driving this whole revolution. We really have to stop thinking of artificial intelligence merely as software, or, some fancy autocomplete tool. It is the ultimate digital workforce. It's an infinitely scalable workforce multiplier that never sleeps, never complains, and executes instantly. These solo founders are effectively weaponizing these AI tools to power modern companies. And because of this, they're scaling impossibly fast. Because of this extreme leverage, a person sitting at their kitchen table can go head-to-head with massive established corporate giants. They're agile, they're lethal, and they're competing without the bureaucratic drag of a traditional large corporation. Chapter 3. Case Study, the Solo Giant. Let's move to and see how this builds. Now, you might be thinking this is all just some futuristic theory, but it's not. We're going to look at a high-octane case study of a modern solo giant that completely shatters the old corporate paradigm. $20,000. Let that incredibly small initial investment number just sink in for a second. In the grand scheme of corporate startups, that is absolutely nothing, a rounding error. But that tiny sum was the seed money for Matthew Gallagher. It was literally all the capital he needed to launch his company, Medvi. The journey plays out like a cinematic montage of explosive growth. Day 1, Gallagher launches Medvi with just roughly $20,000 in a highly sophisticated stack of AI tools. By mid-year, the company is operating at breakneck speed with an extremely small team, and by year 1, the results are staggering. Medvi reportedly generated hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Just think about that. A tiny stack of digital tools transformed into a financial empire in just 12 months, and it's projected to reach even larger numbers. Chapter 4. Replacing the corporate machine. So how exactly is this happening under the hood? And this brilliantly illustrates how we're looking at the systematic dismantling of the traditional business model. The traditional startup with its bloat and massive burn rate is rapidly becoming obsolete. Where a traditional corporate setup requires entire departments of people, for marketing, coding, customer service, the modern setup requires one visionary founder. Where you used to need massive teams, you now simply plug in AI tools. And the high overhead? Gone, replaced by extreme, ruthless efficiency. A solo founder is systematically replacing the functions of hundreds of workers with just a few pieces of specialized software. This brings us to the new economics of business as we look toward 2026. Think about the sheer magnitude of that shift. When your revenue scales exponentially to the hundreds of millions, but your headcount effectively stays at exactly 1, the profit margins become something we have simply never seen before in business. Chapter 5. The future of wealth. Listen, this isn't just a neat productivity trick for a few savvy tech founders. This is a seismic shift sending massive ripple effects through the broader economy.
We're witnessing a complete rewrite of three foundational pillars of our society: the future of work, the future of wealth, and the future of ownership. When the friction of creation drops to zero, the value shifts entirely to the visionary who can direct the AI. It completely changes who gets to be an owner, how vast wealth is generated, and what work even means on a daily basis. Yet despite all this evidence staring us right in the face, most people are completely missing the boat. So the crucial point is this: these are the opportunities most people are still ignoring. Whether you're an entrepreneur, an investor hunting for the next big thing, a creator building an audience, or a developer, there is a massive, historic window of opportunity currently open. This trend literally has the power to reshape the entire economy. Which leaves us with one final, undeniable reality. The next billion-dollar company to totally disrupt the market may not have thousands of employees. It may have just one. The revolution is here.